Good afternoon friends. Today I am going to discuss about how we are going to train our machine learning model on a very basic dataset, that is iris dataset, and I'm literally going to show how we are going to train our model as well. So let's get started. So friends, at the beginning we need to import all the dependencies. And so why are these dependencies? Actually, on the dataset which we are going to train, they need to be stored in some kind of structured dataset. So the structure which provides for our storage of our dataset is Dataframe, and that Dataframe we achieve it from pandas. So we import pandas, and later we import NumPy as well, because internally the data frames are implemented using NumPy arrays, and NumPy arrays are very good at computing the values. So we also import NumPy, and these matplotlib and seaborn are basically used to visualize the data. So to train our model more efficiently, we need few insights from our data. So basically we can get it through visualization techniques, and those are achieved using matplotlib and seaborn. So friends, next we are going to import our dataset from sklearn. Actually sklearn is a API through which we can import few basic datasets, like all the toy libraries, because sklearn helps for the beginners to actually work on the small datasets, and we can get experience on how we will work on it. So it provides few basic datasets like load iris and Boston houses for regression problems. So for this video I'm going to train my model on iris dataset. Actually in iris dataset we have to predict what kind of flower the input is, what kind of flower based upon its sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width. So let me start importing it. Let me start importing the iris dataset. So we basically use sklearn.datasets import iris dataset, and here we imported load iris, which is actually a function, and using this function we are going to load that dataset into iris dataset. But wait a minute, this iris dataset is not actually the data frame, it's actually the bunch, and which is utils package of sklearn. And this bunch object is basically the dictionary object. It consists the key as attributes which describe about the dataset we loaded. It is nothing but, suppose here if you see, what am I doing is iris dataset, which is a bunch object, and I am calling an attribute which is data. Here this data is the key, and the correspondent value which is returned is the value for this variable data. So and that value is nothing but the NumPy array. So this iris.data is actually the bunch, and we have few attributes like .data, .feature names to extract them from our bunch. So, and suppose actually we know that it is an iris dataset we have imported. So we know what to do. We know what to predict actually, but few datasets we don't know what actually the dataset describes. So from this iris data object, which is bunch object, we can know the complete description of the dataset which we have imported. If you can see here, when I use the attribute describe iris underscore data dot describe, we can get all the dataset characteristics, the number of instances. We have 150 instances, 50 in each of three classes. Three classes in the sense we have Setosa, versicolor and virginica. These are the three kind of flowers, and we have each 50 instances of each kind. So through this we can basically get the information about the dataset which we have imported. Next, actually I have said that our data set must be stored in some kind of structure, and that structure is nothing but the data frame, and that data frame we can get it through pandas, as said before. So pandas dot data frame, and for data frame I need to give my data in the sense these the things which I have, which I have to predict my target variable. So iris.data, I get these values 5.1, 3.5, 1.4, 0.2. If you wanna see, I will also show you how iris underscore data. If you can see here, it is actually the numpy array, isn't it? So this data I'm transferring it to the data field, which is nothing but these fields, and later I'm passing the column names iris dot data set, iris dot data, which is the bunch object, and feature name, which is the attribute, nothing but the key which points to the column names of the given iris data set. So feature names are nothing but sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. So in this way I give my data, which is the numpy array and the column names, to my data frame method using pandas. So then it creates a data frame, which is, let me see what type is it. So if you can observe, now we have got the data frame, type of data frame, which is nothing but the data frame, and this data frame is a structured form in which we can store our data set. So we have got our data frame. Now let us start exploring our data frame. And here, if you observe data frame dot head is a method which gives the first 10 instances in our data frame. So these are the column names which have sent in the variable columns in our data frame method, and these are the values which I have sent in the form of data to the data frame method. So our data frame is created. Now let us see what is the shape of our data frame. We just need an attribute date shape, which gives the shape and number of rows and number of columns. We have 150 instances and 4 columns, which are nothing but sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. So now actually here we have imported all the features. We call them features because we are going to predict our kind of flower based upon these variables. So these are basically called as features. Features are the independent variables on which our target variable is predicted. And basically in this iris data set, our target variable are setosa, versicolor, and virginica. So if you see here, I didn't include my target variable. So using my iris underscore data bunch object, I'm going to retrieve my data of the target data. If you see here, dot and target is the attribute, and when I call it's going to return me the target variables. And again I'm going to create a new column named target, and I'm going to store this data returned by the iris data bunch object into my new data frame, into my existing data frame. So now you can see that when I print the data frame, my new target variable is being added. So from this we can have an view that when we have sepal length 5.1, sepal width 3.5, sepal length 1.4, petal width 0.2, we are having 0 in the sense which corresponds to the setosa flower, and 1 corresponds to versicolor and 2 corresponds to virginica. So this is how we need to prepare our data set from a given bunch object. Now let us focus on exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis is basically the process in which we are going to acquire the knowledge on our